slaughtered Israelis get in the way of the narrative, and nothing can get in the way of the narrative, by which I mean this. The narrative is that Israel is fundamentally illegitimate because it was created as a result of Western imperialism by taking Jews who had no connection with the land except in their Bible, which nobody takes seriously, taking them as a result of the Holocaust and putting them into Palestine, where they displaced the indigenous people of the land, and those that remain they have oppressed ever since. That is the narrative. Every single part of that narrative is not just wrong, it is not just a lie, it is a lie that reverses the truth and writes the Jews out of their own history. We can talk about that if you want in more detail.
Why don't you tell us the details of why that's wrong?
Okay, but let me just finish my thought, which is that that narrative defines the Western liberal. It makes the Western liberal think, I am a good and moral person, and the evidence of my being a good and moral person devoted to the betterment of mankind is that I defend the oppressed, who are the Palestinians, against the oppressor, who are the Israelis. So if you have Israelis, as you had on October the 7th, who are slaughtered, raped, beheaded, burned alive, and kidnapped to be tortured, raped, and murdered by the people that I, as the morally perfect person, have been supporting, that can't be. Because if I were to admit that happened, I would no longer be a moral person. Worse, I would be agreeing with the people who oppose me, who are bad and evil people, who are the right. I would become right-wing. That cannot happen. So I must deny it. So I must say, they weren't raped. There's no evidence of that. Or, murdered? Yeah, but like, they brought it on themselves. Hamas, mass murderers? No. Resistance, they're resisting the colonizer. Genocide? It's the Israelis who are committing genocide. Here are the Israelis who are faced with a true genocidal enemy who say in terms, our intention is to destroy Israel and murder every Jew on the planet. Okay? That's not just what the Hamas say. It's not just what the Hezbollah say. It's what the Palestinian Authority tells its children. No one in the liberal West can ever admit that, because for decades they have hung their moral personality on supporting that cause. Now, why do I say it's the reverse? Because the idea that the Jews have no connection with the land is the reverse of the truth. The Jews are the only people for whom the land of Israel, the Holy Land, was ever their national kingdom. It was the national kingdom of the Jewish people centuries before Islam was created, and before waves of colonizers came in, the Romans, the Christians, the different types of Muslim, and then the Ottoman Empire, which collapsed after the First World War. And as a result, the West carved up the Middle East, created a number of countries, Iraq, Syria, and gave Palestine under mandate to the British for the homeland of the Jewish people. And that homeland, as defined by the parameters, the geographical boundaries of Palestine, to begin with, in 1920, it consisted of what is now Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, and Jordan. Along came Winston Churchill, and for reasons of realpolitik, gave about 70% of that land of Palestine to become Transjordan. Okay? What was left was Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. And in 1922, Britain was given a mandate to settle the Jews alone in that territory, throughout that territory. for their national homeland. And on the back of the returning Jews poured in from the Arab world, from elsewhere, vast numbers of people who could see that the Jews were coming back, they were bringing jobs, they were bringing prosperity, they were bringing growth, they were going to create a homeland. So everybody poured in from the Arab countries. And a very large proportion of people who are now said to be Palestinians and are said to have been there since time immemorial came in during the 1920s and 1930s. So that is the history. And the Palestinian identity was created artificially in the 1960s, cooked up between Yasser Arafat, who was then running the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, terrorist organization, and the Soviet Union, who had a common interest, the left and the Palestinian cause, in subverting the West. The Russians wanted to subvert the West, to take over its brain and basically destroy it. And Yasser Arafat wanted to colonize the Western intellectual mind with the idea that the Palestinians were a nationality who were there from the beginning. And consequently, the thing went into reverse. History went into reverse. And if you buy the Palestinian cause, what you are buying into is not the redress of an ancient wrong, an ancient grievance against the people, the Palestinians who were dispossessed. What you're actually buying into is writing the Jewish people out of their own history in the land. And not only are you doing that, you're not only hitting Israel and the Israelis, you are hitting at Judaism itself. Because Judaism, again, not understood in the West, Judaism is not a religion in the way that Christianity is or Islam is. In other words, it's a relationship between you and the Almighty. It's not just that. Judaism is a kind of three-legged stool consisting of the people, the religion, and the land. The religion is based on the people being given a divine mandate in the land to live under a set of laws. And so if you take one of those legs away, Judaism collapses. Now, it doesn't mean that to be a Jew, you've got to go and live in Israel. It doesn't mean that to be a Jew, you've got to be, religiously observant. Not at all. But Judaism itself is that three-legged stool. And so if you basically write the Jews out of their history, their own history in the land, you are not just attacking Israel fundamentally, you're attacking Judaism itself. It's a fundamentally anti-Jewish thing. And this is the terrible thing that the liberal left in the West has got itself into, that it tells itself that by supporting this cause, it is proving itself to itself all the time as moral and decent and forward-looking and progressive and taking the side of the oppressed against the oppressor. They are doing precisely the opposite. They are standing for lies. They are standing for distortion. They are standing for a denial of reason and fact. They are supporting the oppressor, the colonizer. They are supporting colonization against a liberation movement. Zionism is the liberation movement of the Jewish people against oppressive colonization. And so vast numbers of people, I would say the vast majority of people in Britain, even those who are well disposed towards Israel, they don't understand the enormity of the obscenity of what we are living through